Introduction to Web Programming HTML Part 2. So, a couple of words on the use of tags. So remember this order. You can't use any random order you would like. So this is definitely wrong. You need to close the tags in the correct order, the same order they were opened. So this is the right way to do it. The use of paragraphs. In practice, all basic text is always placed between P and enclosing /P tags. These paragraph tags are one of the most used tags in HTML. Then there are menus and things like that are different things, but the plain content is in paragraph tags. And tags have attributes. We have now encountered that there are anchor and image tags that require attributes. Besides these, each element can have a unique attribute ID. So this attribute needs to be unique in every element. So you cannot have several elements with the same ID called title. Only one element can have attribute ID called title. So here we have a H1, the biggest header, main title in the web page, and its ID is title. And then there is also a second attribute which is very important called class. And here we have a paragraph that has class green. We could think that if it has a class green, then the text would be green, but we still don't know how to do it, but that's the idea probably. And several elements can have the same class, and one element can have several classes in this class definition. Links can be absolute or relative, so we can have this kind of a very absolute link to some web page. In here we have selected the exact section where the link is pointing, and there is actually this hash FB root, which means that we are going directly to the ID, to the element that has an ID called FB root. So it's a very absolute, a very direct link. Or we can have this kind of a relative link. So we define that this footer background image is one directory up, and then images directory, and there it is. And this is a relative reference to a file which can be found in the folder structure one step higher. And we are not giving any alt text here, so this is just a background image, although you do not use image tag or element to build any backgrounds, but in this case, this is just an example. Building a base structure. So there is a separate set of elements created to define page sections or elements. So we have header tag. So this is different than the head tag that defines the header of the web page, but this is the header tag that is reflecting the page header inside body, and this is something that came in HTML5. And then we have this nav that reflects a menu or navigation zone. For example, if we have a top menu in our web page with there is a home and CV and the projects, etc. in the links. So this kind of a navigation could be inside this nav element. Then we have a main that contains the main content of the page and does not contain navigation or sidebars. And we can only have one main element in the page. So it really is main part of the page. And we have a footer that specifies the page footer. And then we have article. We could build the main part of the page so that there are several articles, for example 3 articles, and we could use this article tag, article element, to present, for example, blog posts. And these are inside, so as said, these are inside the body element, and all of these were introduced in HTML5. Let's have a short example of this.
Okay, let's add few things here. So first there were these header and main tags. So let's build a header here. And we can move this. This is inside the header because it's basically all header. But let's also add a navigation here. So we add nav. And let's put some links here. So this is our link. This is the place for our links in a menu. The first link directs just this page itself. Might be like this or this. So it's like home. Then we have a second link, which should direct us to, let's say, to my home page. And that's pretty much it. Let's save, let's test it. And yes, we have links there, and let's put space there. Now they are not together. And yeah, that's the header. Then we have the main. And basically the rest of the page is main until here. And then we can ident that. We can have a footer here in the end. Like this. And here we could have just simple paragraph telling that this is the curriculum vitae of like that. Let's see. Now there is a footer. So nothing changes in the page. There are just text, although it's in footer, but it has a semantic value. For example, a screen reader now understands that this is header, this is navigation, and this is the main part of the text. So this is important to have these kind of elements.
Then creating your own formatting, and HTML provides large set of elements, over 100 different tags, but sometimes you need something custom, and it's very often that you need to customize something. For example, a part of a paragraph needs a custom font. Footer needs differently shaped elements. Then we are using div. This is just an element that can be used to specify a specific area, such as a list of latest comments or some advertisement. Do not use advertisement in your business, in web pages or any other. It's just a useful element meaning nothing. And then there is another one called span, and it gives an opportunity to format areas within a paragraph or a row of texts. So this div is a more like a block element, and this span is inside your paragraph. You can use this span element to pick up one word, for example, or one sentence inside the paragraph. And then you can define formatting, but this is done with CSS, and which we will discuss later. When there is no suitable tag, then the div is probably the one you should use. You can have div inside your div, which have then divs inside, and whatever you wish. Let's have a short example of this.
So we have the div and span element. So basically anything here could be inside a div. Let's add a div element here. It's the main menu. There's an ID for this, and then let's close the div. It's here, like this and this. So this div does nothing, but now we have a new wrapper for this thing that is inside our navigation. We can use it in future. Similarly, we have here text, and if we would like to have some if we wanted to have this CV in red color like my hair was back in the spring, we could use span. Now we have like tagged this CV, and we could use here a class called red. We have no way yet to know how we define this red, but now we have used the class. It does nothing, but in the future we might get a red color here. So this is how you can use span and div. Well, now you see and what's the difference between span and div? Now you see that this is pretty much as it was, but now if we change this span to div, this changes. Now the CV is its own block, it's in own line basically. Actually you should not have divs inside paragraphs, so do not do it like that. This is how you do it. Yeah, div and span. And the story doesn't end here. We have forms. So you really want to use forms when you are building a web application that has user interaction. So users can, for example, upload images or register to your service or build a calendar application. HTML offers forms that can include various input elements. And forms can be handled in browser and or in server sites. In real life, you need to handle the user input in both sides. Also, already in the browser, you are informing the user that okay, this is okay, that this is not okay, your input. And then of course in the server side, so that there would be no malicious code inserted in your database or any other thing like that. So how to build a form? So form is of course within form tags. And inside this form element, you can have various input elements. Form is submitted usually with input type submit that submits the form to the server. And the operation of input element can be set with the type attribute, and the form itself, the form element, has attributes such as action, which can be some kind of a parser, and the method that can be get or post. And then there are plenty of these input types. For example, button, checkbox, color, date, datetime, local, email, file, hidden image, month, number, password, radio, range, reset, search, submit, tell as a telephone, text, time, URL, and week. And then we have also these drop-down lists and bigger text areas, and they can be created with their own tags. So we have this select tag that gives us a drop-down list. Here you can select a car, whether it's Tesla, Lada, or Sisu, or Porsche, and they are all in the select element with the option tag, and the Lada is already selected here. And then there is this text area. It has 8 rows and 50 columns, and there is a default text howdy inside this text area. And you can have a input field with permissible or recommended options, and it has this we have this input field. It's a list, it's a rocket list, and we have a data list, and those options are available. So you can have only Saturn 5, Falcon 9, Starship, Ariane 5, or N1 or Long March 5. Okay, so there are these attributes ID and class, for example, but there is also name. So elements can have unique ID, yeah. And with forms, the input element have also name and value attributes. When the form is submitted, the name value pair is created, and that is important. And several elements can have the same name attribute. For example, checkbox utilize this feature, so you are just checking one checkbox, and then the name value is built on that selected item. We have other attributes. For example, we have a placeholder, which can be used to show
user what should be presented in this input field. So for example, you have an email input element, and then you can have a placeholder you@domain.com, and it shows the user that okay, I need to write some domain, my email address here. Then there is this required equals required. It tells that the field is mandatory. This is also very useful when you are building, for example, a registration form that you need to have, for example, password. The password is mandatory there. You can have some kind of a slider where you, or some other tool where you have minimum and maximum values. And this is only useful on those types that utilize the range in somehow. And let's have an example on these presented so far.
And now we would like to have some kind of a feedback form or something like here. So let's use a bit of these form elements. So here we could build a form. This is the basic of form. Let's set that this form has action to basically nothing to itself, and we can also set a method to get. We will soon see what does this mean. And then let's add few things here. So first let's use field set like this, and we want to collect few information of the person, like first name, last name, and age. So let's create a label for the let's first set a legend to this field set. So it's information, and then label for the first name. Of course, it's the first name is the text, and then we need to define what is this label for, and it is for first name. And now we need to create this first name. So we are creating an input. Type is just normal text. Name, let's use this F name, and we can also have the ID for this, which is the same. This is pretty much the input. We can actually now test the form. So now we have here is a field set, and its legend is information, and then we have a label first name, which is for this input element. Now there is no placeholder, so let's add a placeholder. Now it's guiding the user that we should write a first name here. So there is no text, so if I press G, there is no this first name as this placeholder is not the real text, it's just shallow information that user can see. And let's add a last name too, so we can copy paste this last name. Like this. Now we have a last name there, and then we would like to have the age. Let's be strange and copy paste this, but let's not use just an input field. Let's use a range. So type is not just text, it's string range, and name, age, ID, age, placeholder. Well, this is something that we do not need any placeholder, but we are going to need minimum and maximum values. So someone can be 0 years old, or he or she can be, let's say, 130 years old. That's pretty old, probably not using my CV, but in a case that someone wants to use it, then please do. Okay, this is the first one. Then first information block, and then we want to get something else. Let's ask what is the feeling of the user. So label what's your mood, and this label is for mood, not Moodle but mood. And let's use select element here, and to this drop down list we would like to have 4 or 3 or something options, and its ID, this select ID is of course now the mood, as this label is for that, and the name has to be basically the same. And then let's add few options here. So my mood is perfect. Okay, and this is just a text that we are providing to the browser to show to the user, and then there is actual value that we are providing when we are submitting this form. So let's add perfect there. We can use, let's use lowercase letters, perfect, and let's have 3 options here, okay and bad. Okay, bad. Now we have the drop down list. Let's see. Yes, here is a drop down. What's your mood? We can select that it's very bad, or it's okay, or it's perfect. Then we need just 2 more things. So if someone wants to give us feedback, we probably want to have some kind of a text area like this. Now we have a text area here. Someone can write something. It's way too small, and it's next to this mood selector. So let's add a new line break here, and then do some things here. So name is comment. Okay, we actually didn't put any header here. Let's add a header. Leave a note. Now someone can really leave me a note. ID is comment, and then let's put something like then rows and 30 columns. And we can once again use this placeholder. Leave a note like this. And now we have a text box that we can write some text there. But now there is no way to send this form, so we need some kind of submit button. So let's add that. Submit and some kind of value, which is the text that is going to be inside the button. Now we have the button there. Okay, and now if we submit this form, yeah, this slider is extremely bad. You select your age, there is no numbers. You would need some JavaScript there to have those numbers visible. Feeling perfect. Hey there. Let's submit this. So nothing happened, the page reloaded, but all the values we set up are now here. So F name is Erno, L name is Vanhala, age 47, well I'm not that old, mood is perfect, comment equals hey there, encoded mark. Yeah, it worked. So if we wanted to post this method, there are 2 methods types. There are post and get, and reload the page. Now it's post, and if we press submit, there is nothing in the URL. The same data was sent further. If we would have a server there, it would be sent to the server, but it would be in as a post, not as a get. So if you are using get, then it's in the URL. If you are using post, then it's not. Let's keep it get, although it doesn't really matter here. Yeah, this is how you build a form. And as you can see, it looks like shit, but right now we have no way to improve the design, but we will do that in a further parts of this course. So as a conclusion, HTML elements can have IDs, classes and other attributes, yes. And HTML5 brought various elements to be used when designing content layout. And this means that they are the elements present in the page and directly visible to the user. And HTML forms are very powerful and provide a lot of possibilities. You will use forms always when you are getting some kind of an input from user, whether it's a login form, or, registration form, or a blog post, or a comment in any under some images or any other thing like that. Learn these things, they will help you in the future.